Welcome to Living Life in the End for the Successful and Fulfilled Woman. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, the liberated lawyer. I help women to get everything they desire in life by equipping them with powerful strategies to achieve the fulfillment they desire and deserve. Who said you can't have it all? Clearly, they did not know about living life in the end. When women make powerful decisions and create great strategies, they can have everything they desire in life. Girlfriend, forget about choosing between being successful or fulfilled. You can be successful and fulfilled. It's time. It's time for you to get everything you desire and deserve. It's time for you to live your life on purpose. It's time for you to live a life that is fulfilled, meaningful, and full of joy. It's time for you to walk boldly in the power of your decisions. If you are going to be in this world, you need to be fulfilled in this life. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Join me for another episode of Living Life in the End, where you learn how to live fulfilled, fit, and free. Hey, it's time for a musing from the mind of Dr. SDB, where I share provocative thoughts to help you live your life at the end. Girl, I've got something on my mind. You know, I talk about being fulfilled, fit, and free often. The those are rather the pillars of being a successful and fulfilled woman. And I believe that when we are fulfilled, fit, and free, we invite success and fulfillment. And I wanted to spend a little time talking about why it's so important for you to be free. And I want to talk about it from the perspective of liberation. And, those terms are synonymous. And the biggest lesson or takeaway that I want you to have is that liberation is really a beautiful act of self love. When we free ourselves, it is a true way of expressing love for ourselves. And liberation literally means to set someone free from a situation in which their liberty is severely restricted. And we often are imprisoned and we don't realize it sometimes. And sometimes we do realize it, yet we don't liberate ourselves. We don't free ourselves from whatever is restricting our liberty. And I want to talk about some of the restrictions from which we need to be freed. Societal norms certainly influence how we live, where we live, how we show up, how we feel about ourselves. Society says you must do this, you can't do that, you are this kind, you are other, you are whatever. Societal norms will have us thinking that we are not in the right spaces, that we don't belong, have us thinking that we're not enough. And societal norms are simply just a collection of thoughts and beliefs that have been accepted over time and now serve as boundaries for the society to which they apply. And it is important for us to realize that just as those norms have become developed over time, those norms can be disrupted and replaced with norms that serve us better. And all it takes is a decision to free yourself from societal norms. Under society norms are, family influence. We certainly are influenced by the beliefs and traditions and ways of our family, our mothers and fathers, our grandparents, our cousins. All of these people have created this influence that, if we are not careful, will permeate our lives, and we will in turn, share those influences with our children. And while certainly there are some traditions and values and cultural aspects that should be shared, there are also some that should be left behind. Our dysfunctions of our family don't have to continue generation to generation to generation. We can free ourselves from that restriction and liberate our families and future generations from what influences have lasted over time. And one of the things I love to think about, I saw this on the internet some time ago, and it was about that tradition is peer pressure from dead people. And I had to chuckle at that because that is so true. I mean, some traditions are beautiful and should be carried on, but there are others that are quite harmful and no longer serve who we are today. Then, of course, there's popular opinion that shows up in media, social media, and can serve as an influence on our lives because we are shown and these images are splattered all over the media in whatever form that is. And we get caught up in the hype and think that that's how we should be, or that we are not enough because we don't look like that or live there or whatever. And this popular opinion can begin to imprison us. Then we can be restricted by our relationships. You know, sometimes the person to whom we're married, or the person that we love, or our friends are not good for us. And the relationship that we have is not adding value to our lives. Well, it may be adding value in some respect, but it's taking away in others. And sometimes we literally have to free ourselves from relationships that are toxic and harmful to our well being. But here's the thing that is the most dangerous of prisons, and that is your mindset. Because all of these aforementioned influences are external, your mindset is internal. And it is a product of you taking in all of these influences and then deciding that these influences are going to direct your thoughts, behaviors, and actions. And it is so key to being fulfilled, fit, and free to liberate your mind. Liberate your mind. And this involves, of course, challenging your beliefs and asking yourself if the beliefs you have now, do they serve the future you? Do they serve the next level you? And do they even serve who you are today? And as you are thinking about freeing yourself from these restrictions, if you are not ready to do this for yourself, here's one thing that I want you to remember. When you liberate yourself, you liberate others. There is more to your life than just you. And each of us has the ability to influence others, because just as these restrictions influence you, you in turn influence others. And when you liberate your mindset, then you are the ripple that begins to liberate others. So, the first thing that I want you to do is to think about liberation from the perspective of liberating yourself for yourself. Because, quite frankly, you deserve to be free. Freedom is a birthright. And while certainly we are influential to others, The first person to whom we owe the responsibility of liberation is to ourselves. Because if you are a mother, if you are a wife, if you are a sister, if you are a cousin, if you are a friend, you cannot free anyone if you are imprisoned yourself. And so it is important for you to accept this responsibility and recognize that it is all about you. You deserve to be free. You deserve to be free from restrictions that imprison your mind, body, and spirit. Because if your mind is imprisoned, so will your physical body be as well. So liberate yourself for yourself. Freedom is a birthright. The second thing is, or the second reason that you want to liberate yourself is liberate yourself for the women you love. Here's something that has really become evident to me, and it's something I've always known, but it's something that I am beginning to experience more and more in this fulfilled state, is that sometimes a simple act of showing up as yourself liberates other women to do the same. And I'm going to share with you a text that I received a few days ago that really illustrated how me just being me is liberating for others. This is from a friend of mine, and she says, "Thank you, Stephanie, for being an example of freedom, being different, and living the life God gave you to your best. I love how you define your style, even in the workplace. I love how you made bold moves, but most of all, I love your genuine heart. You are my wow factor this week. Keep being you." Now, did I send her anything and say, hey, you ought to do this? Or did I send anything specific? No. I just simply showed up as myself and she happened to observe it and it inspired her. And that's something that honestly fuels me to keep going. That's why I show up to record these podcasts. That's why I show up on lives. That's why I show up to events. I'm really a recluse, honestly. I'm an introvert and I love my own company and I love being in peace and quiet. But I also recognize that I'm a light and I am a light that deserves to shine. And not for the sake of shining and drawing attention to myself, but because I am a light, I can bring light in dark spaces. I can shine the light on other women and allow them to shine even brighter. And my light adds to the value of others. And because I have liberated myself from societal norms and family influences and dysfunctions and popular opinions and relationships and mindsets that have kept me in prison, it allows me to show up as myself. And what I have found in several instances, this is just a recent example, but I've had a lot of women who over time have said, thank you for showing up as you do. And they say it in different ways. I'm paraphrasing it for the purpose of this illustration. But and I'm not doing it necessarily for anyone else, and yet I am. So liberate yourself for the women you love. And I'm going to say that I am committed to being fulfilled, fit, and free, largely because the women that I love, some of them could not and have not. I'm always inspired by my granny Ethel. I talk about her all the time. She is a huge influence in my life. And because of her fearlessness, I have a courageous spirit as well. And I know that my granny could have been so many things. She was so incredibly smart and driven and just amazing. And she could not go to college. She went to college, I believe, once 1 year, but she was not afforded a lot of the opportunities. But she made sure that each of her children went to college and had college degrees, and each of her children's children, my cousins, all of her grandkids have degrees, and all of our children are on that path. And because Granny couldn't do a lot of the things that I'm now able to do, it fuels me to be really committed to being myself and to being liberated and freeing myself from restrictions that society has placed and is trying to place on women, Black people, you know. So I want to be free because my granny couldn't be as free as I am. And I also want to be free for my little cousins so that they can see examples of women who are living liberated lives and being purposeful and who are creating life on their own terms. And so I encourage you to liberate yourself for the women you love. Be the pebble that starts a ripple that moves the world. And the last thing I want to say is to liberate yourself as a living lesson. You are a living lesson. And even where in the past you may have been restricted because your mindset was imprisoned and you held on to beliefs that held you down, held you back, held you from moving forward, those experiences are still a part of you. And they are examples of how you have freed yourself. And you are a living lesson. You are an iteration of wisdom, experience, and evolution. And it is so important for us to embrace who we are and to love who we are. Because even if who you are now is not who you desire to be, you must love her first. Because until you learn to love her, you will remain imprisoned by who she never was. You will remain imprisoned by self doubt and fear and self loathing and self disrespect. So you must love who you are now, love who you were at your lowest, love who you were as you were rising back from your low points. Love who you are right now. Because, like I say, even though she may not be who you desire to be, she deserves love for who she is. And so many times we are imprisoned by regret and self sabotage because we allow the fact that we're not where we desire to be to turn us against our own selves to where we don't love who we are. And so you must love yourself. One of the most powerful things that I've done this year was to write a love letter to myself. I've talked about this before, but I wrote a love letter to my 2017 self because I've been so disappointed in her that her business didn't turn out the way it did, and that she experienced the financial difficulty that she did, and that she made the choices that she did that took away the comfort. Because the 2017 me decided to leave my my comfortable home in Huntsville, Alabama, actually Madison, Alabama, and move to Atlanta, Georgia. My 2017 me uprooted who I was and moved me to Atlanta to find myself. And I was mad at her for a while, honestly, because it didn't turn out the way I desired, but it turned out exactly the way it should. And so it was very powerful and freeing for me to love who she was and love her courage and her willingness to take a risk, and her resilience. And in doing that, it freed me from my past because it allowed me to see my experiences as an investment in who I am today. Because if the 2017 me hadn't taken that risk, I would not be experiencing the joy that I am experiencing right now. And maybe I would have gotten here from a different direction, but I'm grateful that she took a chance. I'm grateful that she believed and kind of evoked the spirit of Esther and said, if I perish, I perish. I did not perish. I did not perish. And so I just encourage you to liberate yourself as a living lesson. Your life is an iteration of the wisdom, the experience, and the evolution. And when you love who you are now, you free yourself to love the woman you are becoming so that when you evolve to the highest and best version of yourself, you do so from a place of love and appreciation and freedom. So it is time for you to set yourself free. Set yourself free from the restrictions that are holding you back. Free yourself from societal norms that tell you you can't, you're too old, you're not the right gender, you're not the right color, you don't live the right place, whatever it is. Free yourself from that foolishness. Free yourself from family influence, history, and dysfunction. If your family was dysfunctional, you don't have to be. If your family did not love and respect each other in the way you desire, you don't have to be. Your family did its job or fulfilled its purpose in giving you life. After that, you owe them nothing but to be who you are, to be free, and to create a better future for the next generation. Free yourself from popular opinion. All that stuff's fake anyway, because people only show you the good side. They don't show you reality. You're out here stressing yourself out and berating yourself because you're real and you may be watching something that is not all of the truth. Free yourself from relationships that are toxic and no longer serve you. Be the best person you can be in the relationships that you're in so that you are not imprisoning someone else. Free yourself, free the people in your relationships, and then most of all, free your mindset. Really question and challenge your beliefs and always ask yourself, does this belief serve me? Does this belief empower me to become my best and highest version of myself? Is this belief toxic to me? And if it is, have the courage to disassociate from that belief. Because when you liberate yourself, you liberate others. So liberate yourself for yourself, liberate yourself for the women you love, and liberate yourself as a living lesson. You are constantly evolving and you are constantly freeing and unlocking doors that allow you to step into your next. Well, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you. Thank you for joining me for another musing from the mind of Dr. SDB, where I share provocative thoughts that help you to live your life in the end. I hope you learned something. I hope you felt something. But most of all, girl, I hope you do something. Fulfillment won't happen because you desire it. It will happen because you decide to go get it. Let's get it. This episode was brought to you by the Successful and Fulfilled Woman New You Transformation, a VIP day for the high achieving woman who is ready to be successful and fulfilled. If you are a woman who feels burned out and uninspired, or you are a woman ready to start over after a divorce, death, or other disruption, or you are a mother whose children are ready to leave the nest or are already gone, and you are now ready to create a meaningful life for yourself, or you are a woman who's approaching your golden years and you want the next half to be the best half, or you are a woman who's ready to get more out of life and ready to stop marking time and start living life, then we need to have a revelation conversation. Go to www.everythingideserve.com to schedule your complimentary revelation conversation, where together we will talk about where you are now and where you want to be, and begin to develop a plan to get you where you desire to be. You will leave your revelation conversation understanding the first thing that you can start doing today to begin living a successful and fulfilled life. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Living Life in the And for the Successful and Fulfilled Woman. Please be sure to let me know what made you feel something, what you learned, and what moved you to action. Please subscribe so you don't miss out on a great conversation. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast and let me know how you are living life in the end. Life is too long to be unfulfilled. Don't keep all this goodness to yourself. Tell someone else to listen for themselves. We should all be fulfilled. Remember, your life is the product of your choices. Choose to commit to bringing the desires of your heart to completion. You don't get what you deserve until you get what you decide. Life is too long to be unfulfilled.